Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Rive to receive the top 10 stocks to buy right now. Apple is still one of the biggest companies in the world, but it's facing more questions today than it's had in quite a long time. So I want to go through a few of those questions that we might get a few answers to when the company reports earnings in early May. Now, these aren't financial questions, so I'm not looking at modeling the company, but more strategic questions and existential questions facing Apple. There may be a lot more going on under the hood than you have thought about before. So that's what I'm going to dig into today. My name's Travis William. Thank you for watching Rive Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content. And let's dig into the first and biggest question that I think Apple has right now. And that's how quickly is it transitioning from all of its production reliance on China? We know that the company gets most of its chips from TSMC, which is located in Taiwan. But as China becomes more aggressive with Taiwan, there is added risk there. And then there's the trade relations with the US. Apple's just found itself in a really precarious position, being so reliant on China for really most of its critical products. We saw some impacts from the pandemic and when some cities were shut down because of COVID-19, but those geopolitical risks are only getting bigger, especially if any sort of confrontation happens with Taiwan. So we know that the company is starting to move some of its production to countries like India and even the US, but it's moving very slowly. And so that's something that I think we need to get a better feel for is how quickly is the company moving from relying on China for all of its production to being able to move that to some other countries around the world and have a little bit more diverse supply base. At the end of the day, this is the biggest risk facing Apple, is its reliance on China. And so answering these questions, I think, is going to be critically important over the next few months. The second question is around consumer behavior. What are consumers doing right now? Are they continuing to buy iPhones at the same rate as they were a year ago? We've started to see things slow down a little bit, even for Apple. But are they pushing back purchases a little bit? We know that wages aren't growing at the same rate as inflation is. So does that mean that you buy an iPhone a little bit later, maybe next year instead of buying one this year? Do you trade down to a lower end model instead of buying the highest end model? These are things that Apple is going to feel a little bit more acutely than maybe some other companies that are more consumer staples. So that's going to show up in the financial results. And we'll see with both average sale prices and then also volume what Apple is seeing from an iPhone perspective, and then its other products like the Mac, the iPad, and some of the accessories as well. So that's what I'm really curious to see is, are consumers still spending in the way that they once were? The third question is also a little existential, and that's what is Apple doing with artificial intelligence? I made a video last week that argued that something like ChatGPT's plugins could actually be a threat to Apple's operating system and the control that it has on the App Store, which is now producing tens of billions of dollars a year in revenue for Apple. So there are starting to be threats coming for Apple and Android's dominance of the smartphone space. I don't think we're quite there yet where they need to respond specifically, but we need to start seeing what moves they're going to make in that space. I would expect to see Apple put more artificial intelligence on device. That's something that they can do better than any other company. And that would be a really good and interesting response to a company like ChatGPT or Microsoft, which is going to be doing most of their AI in the cloud. But I'd love to hear more about what exactly Apple is going to be doing in artificial intelligence. We're probably not going to get that from a press release, but we are going to see with product improvements and with some of their announcements at their developer conference in June exactly what they're thinking about artificial intelligence right now. The third financial question is really about margins, and that's, is Apple being squeezed either from the pricing side or from the cost side? And those are really the two things to watch. Apple has really done a better job than almost any company historically of being able to command really high margins, being able to manage both inventory and then its pricing. But we're in kind of a new environment right now as the tech economy slows a little bit, as inflation becomes more prevalent around the world. Do we start to see Apple's margins start to come down? That may not be something that is here to stay forever, but I wouldn't be surprised in early 2023 and even throughout the year if we see a little bit lower margins from Apple. So that's going to be something that I'm going to be watching. How well were they able to manage the potential cost increases and pricing pressure that they've been seeing in the marketplace? And the final thing is, what's next for Apple? The thing that everybody's been talking about is a potential VR or AR headset. Is that what we're going to get in June? Are we going to get something else? At the end of the day, this is a company that's still really reliant on the iPhone. And then as an extension, that really gives strength to products like the Mac, AirPods, and even the iPad. But there's not a big product lineup for Apple. So adding something to that product lineup, whether it's a headset or whether it's something else, I think could be really valuable. You might remember that Apple wasn't in the watch business and it really wasn't in the headphone business just a few years ago. And those have been really successful products for Apple. I would love to see them add another line extension or two over the next couple of years. Maybe we get something like that with the headset, but I'd love to hear more in the next few months about what's next for this company. Because to maintain its market position, it's going to have to keep up with all the other companies that are innovating in this space. What are you looking to hear from Apple when they report earnings or when their developer conference happens? I'd love to hear your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to Rive Investing. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you here next time.